Okay, just finished using the flapper disc and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not expecting to take it all off and have it shiny, as I said, especially with the tank. I want to make sure I don't dig too much into that. And this one here I've cleaned up as much as I could as well. So that's all looking much better now. So what I'll do is I'll take it back inside the garage and I'll clean it up and then start putting some rust converter on it. So rust converter has been applied just on this area. I mean, there is a little bit of pitting and so on to be expected, but I think it's not going to be a problem. As I said beforehand, I'm actually going to be putting the plate back together using Sikaflex. And Sikaflex adhesive is not that I'm plugging the product, but I've used it in the past. But it's very flexible and very good for vibrations and so on, applications. So I'll be applying it right through, so that even if say there is a leak through one corner between the plate and the tank, it's not going to spread anywhere else. So, but that stuff is really good. Anyway, and here's the bash plate, also with the rust converter, and so now that'll just stay there and pretty much I'll let it cure, and the next steps will be to apply the primer. So just coming back to this Series 1 tank, obviously the design's different. This one hasn't got a bash plate as such, okay, so it's all kind of one unit welded, so the amount of work is much less than the 2A tank. And so basically what I'll be doing with this one is again using the angle grinder with a wire brush, taking off all the paint, rust treating it, and then painting it straight off, so I don't have to actually worry about dismantling a bash plate as such. So this will be a lot better, a lot easier. And here are the components. What I've done here is I've actually bent that radius on the float because for some reason this mechanism was working, how could I put it, reverse. So when it was full, such as that would indicate an empty, that'll indicate empty, and that'll indicate full. Anyway, it was what it was doing. It was showing the opposite. It was showing the empty on the full on the gauge, and the full was showing as empty on the gauge. But irrespective, all of these things here are cleaned up. Got to say, I love brass. And so I've got all that, and I'll rust treat that as well, even though it's galv. Obviously, after 50-60 years, it's starting to show a little bit of tiredness. And this is the mechanism to float level for the Series 2 tank, which is the same as what I showed in my previous video about calibrating the tank gauge. And of course I've got the original pickup pipe for the fuel, and I've also got this one here which I'll have to modify, which will be the return pipe, because don't forget I'm actually putting a diesel motor in there. And the same goes for this one, pickup and return. It's been a while since I've done a last update on the Series 2A rebuild. There's been a lot of stuff going on in family-wise and so on, so yeah, unfortunately the last 2 or 3 months, not much. But anyway, getting back into it, what I've done here, as you can see, I've just finished putting the undercoat on these 2 tanks, and I think I've done a video previously on how I prepped it, how I sanded it back and so on. Not completely back, I mean the actual original tank was fine, and this is a Series 1 tank, and that one kind of like wasn't exactly, I suppose, stripped right back to bare metal, but close enough. But anyway, it's looking good. you can see the quality between the two tanks. So you've got this one which is almost like a press fit and then welded, while this one here you can see it's quite, yeah, old school. Nevertheless, it does the job. So this one here is going to be my auxiliary tank, and the reason why I got this one was because it has the filler on the tank itself, so it'll be under the seat, and therefore I don't have to worry about putting any holes on the side panels for a filler cap and systems. So here we go, that's that. The tanks, I'll be just painting it with a top coat. I'm using a roller and a brush, nothing fancy. I'm not using a spray pack because I want to actually have a fairly thick application. So I've got the top coat on there, use the roller, nothing special, at least it's protected now. So quite happy with the results. Of course, it's never going to be as good as, you know, powder coating or something like that, but I'm still happy with that. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start assembling the, putting back in the units, including the new section here, which I've previously drilled. And so that way, at least I can almost say the tanks are done. The only thing that's left to do is to put the base plate on that, which is there, already painted as well. And but I'll do that when I'm fitting the tanks onto the chassis. Just a bit of an aside here. So that's the original feeder tube here. So the outlet pipe, and this is the one that I'll be putting as the return line for the diesel, which is where I drill these holes here. So I've cut the ends off here to give it the right height, and of course I've made my own gaskets for these things, but what I'm using is these brass washers and bolts and so on, and that'll go through here. But because I didn't want to tap these out because it's only thin sheet, so what I've done is I've grabbed this washer effectively. I just happen to have it. They're the nuts that I glued onto the other end, and I'm going to be putting that on the inside and somehow, you know, holding it in place while I'm screwing it in. So I'll have to fab up something that I'll be able to support it from here. Sorry, from in here, and then I can put this all in place and then screw it in. So it'll be a bit of a tricky one. Alright, so the best way I found that I can do this is by using a small magnet. You can see the circular magnet there, holding it in place, and I'll be able to now feed that through. And obviously I've got to modify the wiring to suit, but then I can then put it through and hold it in place. I finally finished it. Turned out pretty good, I think. So all in all, I'm happy that's done. The only thing I've got left to do obviously is just to clean up the plugs, but I'll leave that to the last minute. And internally you can see that there's a little bit of surface rust there. All the other stuff that you see, the white stuff there, is the kill rust, but for a Series 1 tank it's actually not too bad. And with a Series 2 tank it's actually much better condition inside. I've got previous videos I've done of that, so if you're interested in having a look, they're there. But at least that's another job pretty much well and truly done. Alright, I hope you enjoy this video, and as always I'll see you next time.